Hello.
Hello there, Kevin. I can see that you're here. I can hear that you're here. I can't see you yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me.
Great. Oh, what a lovely backdrop.
Sorry, that's my work background.
Hi,
Yes.
Breffnie.
Very good. Nice to meet you both.
You too.
This
It
is my
looks
wife, Jill.
Christmassy. Hi there.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So listen, tell me exactly where you're at with your property search or your plans.
Yeah. Well, we sold our own property in March.
August last year.
Oh, in August. I have March in my head.
Congratulations. Great.
With a few hiccups, but we sold it, and so with the money's in the bank, and then we were also sale agreed on a property here in Bray, but unfortunately that fell through.
Why?
So we think the owner, it was COVID related, something to do with their job.
So they weren't going to be able to fund the purchase of something else, or?
Yeah, it was a chain. So we were all okay to go, but their side fell through. Yeah, they were buying a property elsewhere, so the whole thing collapsed. Yeah, and they actually moved back in.
Okay.
Still living there.
Right. So just to say, well done on doing everything so far, just getting your house sold, having the money in the bank. You're a lot of steps ahead of many people who are just wondering, should they sell before they find something to buy? So you've done everything right so far. So now, where are you at?
So now, I suppose we were trying to find the home, the one, so this is going to be our forever home. We don't want to ever have to move again. So we looked at quite a number of properties from August of last year onwards. And we didn't see anything really that fit the bill. Probably we were being very picky if we were to look back on it. I'm sure you're well familiar with this sort of situation. And then just after Christmas, things just went a bit haywire, and the lack of supply and all of that. So we're kind of just, we've been in a couple of situations recently. We haven't bid on stuff because we don't want to bid on having seen properties virtually. Yeah, so we're kind of in this holding pattern, and we're not seeing much coming up, and it's just quite, I suppose it's frustrating. We did have a wobble moment where we went back to a property we had seen before Christmas. I know it's the thing that you'd never do probably. And we just said, could we make that work? And we put an offer in, and that was accepted. But we had a survey done on the house, and there were big issues, rising damp, and planning permissions that hadn't been sought. So we just walked away. We said, maybe it's an omen, maybe that wasn't the brightest thing to do, but we were a bit worried at the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now. We're just looking to see what's coming up, and there's not much coming up.
Okay, so can we just put a budget and figures on it, and then we'll have a think about putting a bid on something without physically seeing it. So can I just get a sense of the number of bedrooms, the minimum number of bedrooms you need, and your max budget?
Sure. So we're 3-bed is fine. The only thing with that, so a 3-bed that has 3 decent sized bedrooms, I know that's really hard to find. Usually it's a box.
You're right. It's usually 2 and a compromise. Yeah.
But if the house is capable of an attic conversion or has an attic conversion, happy days. That would work for us. And then, oh, sorry, I'm going ahead now. But yeah, three beds would be fine for us, really.
So when you're saying 3, just on that, do you actually need 3 bedrooms, or should you be looking for a 4-bedroomed house, really?
We have 2 children, so they need their separate rooms, and then a room for us. We don't really need 4 bedrooms, albeit I know it changes the footprint of the house and it makes it bigger on ground floor as well. Generally, so not really.
Okay, so the fact that the 3rd room is a compromise mightn't really be a problem, given that that seems to be how houses in general are designed, isn't it? So it's just something to consider. Okay, so 3-bed, grand. Max budget?
So I was listening to you on your podcast, and I was thinking about this a lot, because like you were saying, you take money from here, take money from there. I suppose what we're really comfortable with spending is less than 600.
Okay, so 600 max.
Max.
Yeah. And is that available to you now? Is that subject to the sale of anything or the transfer of anything? Or could, if you saw it today, could you spend 600 on it now?
Good, yeah.
Okay. And in terms of location, does Bray suit you?
We both grew up here, so you know, our family are here, and we know schools. Yeah, the boys are in school here.
Okay.
Yeah, and we both work in Dublin, so access to the DART is, you know, important to us as well.
Right. So just before we get into the concept of bidding before viewing, what would you say is the biggest problem you have right now that you're facing? Are you in agreement as to what the biggest problem is, or do you each have a different thing that's on your minds?
Yeah, I guess well, just the type of property that we're looking for doesn't seem to be available, I guess, you know. We've just come back from a viewing, actually,
right,
that we had been told by the agent was coming on in a couple of months' time. So we were kind of waiting to see it. So we actually saw it today.
Great. Did you get in to see it?
Yeah,
we did actually. Yeah. It's very, very run down though inside.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not afraid of hard work, and we've done a lot of work in our own house to get it to a very high standard, and floors and all that kind of stuff. I'm open to doing that. I've done it before and I can do it again, but this looked like a bridge too far. I wasn't quite sure how the agent actually himself suggested first 200,000 in works to get it to a decent standard. Then he thought about maybe 100,000 might work. So we like the house, and the area is perfect, the location and the footprint and everything. But yeah, I think the inside of the house is just in too poor a condition, and I think it just lends itself to the market at the moment. The house prices seem very inflated, and the house qualities aren't good enough. So we want a moderate standard house that needs work, and that's probably what we're not finding at the moment.
Would you prefer a house that needs work, or would you, if in an ideal world, if you could wave a wand, would you get a house that's ready to go, or do you actually like the idea of doing work?
Yeah, we like the idea. Like if the price reflects that, then we'd be happy with that. But you know, from what I see, it doesn't. I think that house today was 595, and I was just thinking that's crazy for a house in that condition. It's basically a shell of a house that looks nice from the outside, but once you get inside, it's literally parts of it are falling apart. So I don't think it represents good value for money.
And it was probably too big for us, Breffnie, to be perfectly honest. It was a 4-bed, had a really like a big footprint to it. I think we don't need a house that big. We like a house with a playroom that we can separate what the kids are doing with what we're doing is kind of, you know, what we're looking for, but it could be a 3-bed.
Okay, so what I would just say about looking at something that costs 595 that is in bad condition, I'm wondering why you even went to see it. And I'm just thinking that in future, if you're trying to minimize the heartache, maximize the efficiency and clarity of thinking, if this is a house that is in bad shape, as said by the agent, then you need to find your sweet spot where you've got a tired house, but not a wreck of a house that's within budget. So it sounds like 595, this is not your area. Whichever road this was on, it sounds like it's going to be overpriced for you because it's at the high end, it's the max end of your budget, and it needs hundreds of thousands, probably, if not 100,000. So I would say, learn that lesson now. Don't make that mistake again, in a sense, or save your energy. And the next thing to do is to find out where your budget and your needs really intersect in a sweet kind of a way, which is your good spot. So I'm just going to go on to DAFT now and do what you've probably done 1,000 times and put in and see what I'm seeing. Bray's a great spot, isn't it?
It is. It is. We've thought about moving in closer to work because we both work in Dublin, but because all our family are here, and
it works for the moment.
Yeah, and it's a nice place to live too.
Yeah. So I'm just putting my
sure.
And minimum 3 beds. Okay. So to see where it's just suggesting itself as a. I'm going to call out, let's see how many, okay, we've got 32 houses that come up, and I'm going to call out a few names, and maybe you'll just shout out what's of interest to you in terms of area. Glenthorne.
No.
Okay. Putland Villas, Vevey Road.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a BE or F. I'm just going to mark that. Was it 4 Edward Road that you went to see today? No?
Yeah.
It was, yeah. Lovely house.
Yeah. From the
Okay, so Ardmore Road, Herbert. Ardmore Wood, Herbert Road.
No.
Too small and too modern. You're looking for something with a bit of character. I'm just going to scroll on down.
Mm.
When you see 595, you're really, if you were my client and I was looking for you and I know that's your max and I'm looking at this market, I'd say that's too high a price. Capping the search at 600 is probably capping it too high. You might be better off just coming down to 550, but we'll do that in a minute just to see.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I see there's a lot of kind of small modern builds.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And Upper Dargle Road is too far away, is it?
Yeah.
Deep downs. Southwinds Herbert Road, have you looked at that?
No, we haven't. It's
119.
it's further away from the Dart than we would
Then
like.
you'd like, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so what I'm seeing is an awful lot of not great quality housing. The stock is as you say, it's not exactly what you're after.
Mm.
Let's go back to the one that you went to see today, just to see the condition of it. Because in general, as I'd say you would agree, a key principle I would always say is if you can buy it and get into it and sleep in it, buy it.
Okay.
If it's the right location and the right quality of house for you, you'll do the work over time, and especially if you're arty and gifted as you seem to be, that I'd be prioritizing buying the bulk of the house first. But
yeah.
Okay, I'm going back to Edward Road in Bray. It's a D2, so that doesn't sound too awful. It's not a G.
No, it's actually surprising. I would have thought it was going to be lower, you know. But
Yeah.
it's hard, you know, it's hard to know. We even considered there's a neighbor here who's having work done at the moment, and his brother is a builder. He's doing the work, so he's not actually here today, but we were going to ask him just to come along with us because, you know, he'd probably have a better idea and give us a better idea of what the condition in the house is actually like. Like wallpaper peeling off is not a big deal, you know, but there's damp, and you know, we were just wondering about the electrics and the plumbing kind of. So I did ask the agent that question, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't have too much in the way of detail.
Yeah.
So
one question that's I usually ask the agent at some point, maybe not at the first viewing, but just to get a sense of what the expectation is. If he's putting it on at 595, I'm assuming he's putting it on with the view to getting 640. If I was a selling agent and I was hoping to get 650, I'd be putting it on at 595.
Okay.
And it's an area that, do you think yourself, from your local knowledge of this, do you think that would buy this house? To me, it sounds like it wouldn't buy this house. You're going to spend more to buy it.
The 595 figure? Yeah, you're right. And I think that's why we kind of walked away going, oh,
yeah,
you know.
Okay, so it's just, it's out of the budget.
Yeah, yeah.
Putland Villas.
Yes.
Have you looked at that one?
We didn't look at it. That's actually just come back on the market. It was sale agreed, and I'm not sure why it fell through, and it's come back again.
Okay. Does the area suit you?
Yeah, it's not as close to the Dart as we would have liked, but it's looks like a fine house, and it's in a nice area.
Yeah, I'm just going to have a look at it on screen here.
Yeah, sure.
27 Putland Villas. One good thing about it having gone sale agreed already is that there is a price in the air that the vendor is going to accept. There was a deal done, and it would be interesting to know what was that deal. What was it sale agreed at? And I'm not sure who's selling it. Might be Ed in DNG.
It's Ed, yeah.
It's Ed. I presume you know him at this point.
I do. We know them all now.
He'll probably tell you what it went sale agreed at. He'll be keen to do a deal.
Okay. Okay. So what we've noticed with Ed and D&G and Bray just really is that they've been very much on the virtual viewing front of things, and they've been encouraging people to make bids and us to make bids on things without having seen them. And
Yeah.
I think it's just slightly different approach that like other agents have allowed us in, whereas they don't seem to be facilitating viewings. It's just a delicate time, I know. So I feel that he's had a couple now recently that have gone very, very high. And I feel like this could be one of those mad ones where people just throw bids in over the phone. And
yeah, well, you're not wrong in that. I've seen 2 examples this week of the bidding getting bid up virtually, then
Yeah.
people physically walk in the door, then the person whose sale agreed is out, and then the whole thing unravels again, and they're back to the starting point. So this might be what happened with this property. But here's what I'd say honestly about viewing, about bidding without viewing. There are so many things you can know about a property without ever setting foot in it. And you can know 70% of what's important about it, e.g. the location, the road, the side of the road, the orientation, the neighbors, the potential to extend. All of those things you can know without ever setting foot inside the property. And I would be happy if I would be, and I am, bidding on behalf of clients on the basis that really 70% of the value of the property is coming from the location anyway. We can see this house. It feels like kind of an honest house. It doesn't feel like it's been, doesn't appear to be loads of weird extensions added on. Let's see. So what's your reservation about bidding without having seen it?
I think it's just having experienced a couple of them. We actually weren't involved in them. We didn't bid, but we heard of them. Like there was one in particular that was 495, and the last we heard it went up to 610. And we still want to jump on board that bandwagon. That's kind of why I'm reluctant.
Okay, but right now I'd say, so it's east facing.
Yeah.
East, northeast facing. It feels like a bright house, or else they're good photographs that he took, but it feels like a bright house. Well, I suppose would this house be of interest to you if you could afford to buy it?
It would, I think.
Yeah.
I think right. Well, what I would do is you've obviously, Ed, I'd get on the phone and I'd say, see, it's come back on the market. We've a very definite upper limit we can't go beyond. It would be so helpful to know what this was sale agreed at, so we know what the vendor's expectations are, so we know if it's worth our while putting in a bid or getting involved at all, or just walking away.
Okay.
They want a deal, so they want to tell you really. They may not tell you the exact figure. Sometimes they're coy about it, but I imagine he will.
Okay.
And even if he won't give you an exact figure, he might say, look, it was above 600. In which case, that's it.
Yeah. We'll know then. Yeah.
You'll know then.
Okay.
But in terms of prioritizing how you, whether you're happy to bid without having viewed it, I would bid without having viewed it physically, because you can tell so much about it, really, can't you?
Yeah.
The parking, the location, the connectivity to all the points of interest for you, the orientation. And I know you're thinking, why am I going to get involved here, making this bidding process a really heated process when it might all fall apart? Well, that's the next step. If it falls apart, you can still go back in and bid again. If other people are prepared to do it, this is the market you're in. By refraining from doing it, it's debatable how helpful you're being to yourself.
Yeah, that's very true as well. Yeah, I suppose we don't know unless we try.
You don't know unless you try. And with your bidding, and when you are bidding, and even when you're sale agreed, as you know, it's fully reversible. So really, the power is in your hands. But I do agree, it's like we're building these castles of bidding, which are real, which aren't real. And there's only one way to find out, and that's going the whole way and putting in your bid. Yeah.
And in terms of bidding, then, would you have any advice on that? I know we're like, if we went hypothetically and asked him what it was agreed at last time, would you say to go in at that
Honestly, yes, I would.
Okay.
Here's what I would say is, firstly, I'd say, why did it fall through? Just in case there's something that a survey was, it could be that the vendor pulled out, or it could be that, well, obviously not, because the vendor's still selling it, so they're presumably still game.
Yeah.
The two things I'd want to know is, what it was that sale agreed for, and why did it fall through? And he may or may not tell you both bits of information, but he probably will.
Okay.
And honestly, since you are what I'd call, you're cash buyers as well, you're a really strong candidate. You're the best candidate there is.
Mhm.
I'd offer him the asking price, probably, that was sale, not the asking price, but what it was sale agreed at before.
Yeah.
If you just want to get it done,
Yeah.
that might be my strategy, just
Okay.
to do it if it takes it off the market. Like, not to ask, if what I'd be trying to figure out is, look, if we come in and offer you the asking price, can we do this deal? Well, the event, can we just do it now? And if he says yes, that's one thing. And if he says, well, you know, they'll probably wait to leave it on a bit to see how far more it'll go, then that's another thing.
Yeah.
But what I'd ask him is really, like, if we were to, and we're cash buyers, could we do this deal? That's a reasonable way of framing the question.
Okay. Great. Yeah, that's great advice.
The cash buying thing would be a big incentive for them then. Yeah.
It's a big incentive because you're not subject to anything.
Yeah.
There are quite a lot of people, amazingly enough, who think they're buyers because they've had a cup of coffee with the loan approval sort of thing. The bank have said, we will in principle approve you of this for this amount,
Mhm.
but they haven't actually got a full letter of loan offer in their hands.
Yeah.
So 100%, you are the absolute best buyer he could have for this house, especially if it's done a bad survey.
Okay.
If it's done a bad survey, it might mean that a bank, like the kinds of things that make banks run away from houses or
Mhm.
make surveyors, or, as you know, you get your survey done on your house, that's for your own interest. Then the
Yeah.
the bank sends out a valuer to do a valuation on the property. That's for their interest.
Mhm.
And the kind of things that the bank valuer is looking out at, the first thing they'll do is they look at comparable sales. Should we just have a look at comparable sales in here? I'll just
Right.
go on to Property Week and we'll
Thanks,
have a look.
Breffnie.
Property Week. So we're in Putland Villas, nice name too. And they'll be looking at things like flooding. That's what they'll be looking at. Flooding, flat roof extensions, etc., etc. So you don't have any risk of them. Let's see. Property Week.
Not there, I don't think, no.
No.
It's quite
No.
high actually, that location.
It is high, yeah.
Good.
The houses, the houses lower down, quite close to that Putland Villas house actually,
Yeah.
were subject to really bad flooding. I think it was 2014. So
Yeah.
the water kind of runs off Bray Head there.
Yeah.
And like it was torrential rain, you know, really heavy rain,
Yeah.
really unusual even probably for Ireland. And there was a video that we saw on YouTube of a guy filming from his house, so you could see that the water was nearly 1.5 to 2 feet deep on the road. So
Oh God.
and basements were flooded, and that's the house that we were sale agreed on, that we had the survey done on, was in that area where it would have been subject to that flooding. So
Right.
we surmised that, you know, that the soil, that it's definitely, there's an issue with water in the area, and you know, they had rising damp in their basement, which they had converted.
One
So,
thing, if you're wondering about that at all in Bray, a good way of just short-circuiting the whole thing is
Yeah.
phoning an insurance company and asking them for a quote on the house. You
Oh.
don't need to own a
wow.
property to get a quote on it.
Okay.
And it'll tell you whether or not they're happy to give you flood insurance on it.
okay.
Brilliant. Great. I hadn't even thought of doing that before.
Okay, so 2 Putland Villas was for sale 2019, 130 square meters, so a little bit smaller than the one you're looking at.
Mhm.
Let's see what condition it was in. Do we have a BER rating here? That's F. Carl Tracy sale agreed. Okay, have you seen that come up on the property price register?
Number 2?
Yeah.
No, I didn't actually. No.
Okay, maybe it just didn't go through that sale, in which case one would wonder, is it still potentially for sale?
Gosh.
Carl Tracy.
Oh, that's the.
Oh, I see your sale agreed. Yeah. 2019.
That's right.
Is that right up here, top of the road?
Mm.
All right, okay. It's a good location, actually. Very good location.
I'm just looking at the property price register to see did it go through.
Oh, thanks.
Property price register, Putland Villas. Nothing's coming up there.
Okay.
Register. Let's look in a different one. They're not all the same. Putland Villas.
Hmm.
Putland Villas. County. Oh, Bray is in Wicklow. I always forget that Bray is Wicklow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, nothing in 2020.
Okay.
Let's try 2019. Nothing in 2019. That's interesting. Has it gone through this year?
In a while, yeah.
So Carl Ria Forkin, it might be worth putting in a call to them to see, might that be something that would be sellable or viable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When was that? June 2019. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any photos. So they were asking 445 for a 3-bed, and you guys are asking 525 for a 5-bed.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would put maybe 30 grand a bedroom as a rule of thumb, something between 20 and 30, depending on the size or the caliber of the bedroom. So
Yeah.
that kind of all adds up.
Yeah.
I doubt that there's going to be any photographs on. So,
Yeah.
so in terms of your, where you're living at the moment, where are you living at the moment? Are you renting and happy and able to rent there for a while more?
We're with my mum and dad.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no immediate rush on us getting out, but obviously it's hard for them having us all here, us and the 2 kids.
Hmm.
In saying that, yeah, we also, you know, the proceeds of our house sale we put into an account, a savings account, and we're lodging money into that every month. So, you know, that's positive.
Okay, with every month that goes by, the budget gets bigger.
Yeah, we are sort of advised, you know, it's a visible thing for the bank to see, and they'll be happy to see that. So it's just, just make our position a little bit stronger, I suppose. And we just took advice on that, so we went down and set that up, and yeah, we lodged that monthly. So
so here's what I'd do if I were you, and I would decide where your absolute gorgeous spot in Bray is, and we can see it's not all the new builds, it's the houses, the 1950s 40s houses with a bit of character, 60s. I would possibly do up a little note and put it in the door and say, we are cash buyers, we are keen to buy, and we're happy to deal with an agent, we're happy to deal with you, we're happy to deal with whoever. And just in case there's an executor sale about to come on the market or something or other, you never know. Like, what you're really clear on what you want. What just isn't there is the supply for you.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any harm putting a note in the door for people. It's amazing. I did that actually for when we were buying our house and we were married. And while the houses I put the note into didn't come up, the house around the corner, I got someone phoned me and said, there's a house around the corner coming up. And that did come up. Now it came up in the conventional way, but it just meant I had a bit of a head start to get to know that particular road and know that I wanted. So anything you can do like that is a good idea. And I would also get on to the likes of Dooley's and Ed and everyone else who's down there in Bray.
Yeah.
And McDonald's or whoever, and just say we're hot buyers, we're cash buyers, we're looking for this kind of house, the likes of Putnam Villas, that's what we're looking for. Because agents are going out to value things all the time. And sometimes most agents have something off market for whatever reason. The vendor just doesn't want to go through the whole motions of putting up signs. So I would be very proactive in terms of dealing with the agents, as I'm sure you are. I'm sure they do know you're there and willing and able, but you couldn't be too proactive, really.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah, I was just gonna. So when the little note through the door. So this will just be a random, a house in the area that we're keen on. So literally,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it looks like Putnam Villas might be a sweet spot for you in terms of the kind of house and the budget and the condition. It looked like that sort of adds up. And there's probably not a million roads in Bray where those things all add up. There's maybe 10 or 15. It's just a thought, it's just a thought to put a note in the door.
Actually, and Jill did it on a property here, but it didn't have any traction. But I mean,
Yeah,
we
and it
read
may not.
we read that it can be a good ploy sometimes. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Look,
open.
you're keen and you're cash buyers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Maybe the key messages in the note would be
that you're from the neighborhood, you've children in the school, you particularly want to buy on this road, and get in touch with you, or you're happy to deal with them, you're happy to deal through an agent, you're happy to deal with anyone, just letting you know in case you're thinking of selling. That's totally different to those standard notes in the door that all agents put in saying, we are looking for properties. It's different.
Yeah.
It's personal.
Yeah, it's personal. And it's not like I think it's such a fantastic, I don't know that I think it's going to bear much, if any, fruit for you, but why not? Like, why not do it?
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah. I suppose I was just thinking when you mentioned Putland that there's a house on Putland Road, which is near to Putland Villas, that we were inquiring about as well. Smaller house, but there's no sign up outside or anything, but you were in contact with the.
Yeah, I mean it's on at 635.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I like there's no point.
No, you're right. There is no point. There is no point. And that's really wise advice.
Yeah,
There's no point.
When you see a house price, you generally would envisage that price rising. So when you see 635, you don't really see 635 as the final price.
No, I absolutely don't. Again, it depends on what the market's doing. If the market's falling, then it's one approach. But we're in a hot market now with not enough stock, 24% less stock and 24% more loan approval. So there's piles of money chasing too few houses, as you know very well.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at houses actually recently for a client last week, and I just went through 10 asking prices and compared them with 10 sale agreed prices, and they were in a range between 2 to 11% over the asking price. So every one of them was over the asking price.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd be absolutely looking right down, maybe even at the 495s and the 520s.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, because then you're more likely to secure one of those than even going into like a house that's 550. Like I'm probably okay with that as well. Maybe. But I like the idea of the Putland. Just seems to be the level of work that we need to do, the size of the house, and the
decent garden.
And the price, just the 525.
Yeah, 525. And they didn't come down on that price. They didn't come in. So they didn't. What I mean is that when they put it on again, in Property Week, it doesn't say originally asking and now, So that, without further ado, I'd definitely get onto that one. Now, what else? Like, it feels like there's sort of a gap in Bray between the lovely Putlands, or the one you went to see today, whatever road that is, Edward Road.
Yeah.
And then there's all the kind of not so attractive housing estates, the 80s, 90s builds out on the outskirts.
Yeah.
Have you come across anywhere in the middle? I'm not seeing anywhere in the middle right now.
Well, where we are right now, we're in a place called Seacrest. It's an estate called Seacrest. So they're 3-bed, semi-detached, but they've got great scope for extensions. So like my parents' one started off as a 3-bed, but it has a garage, so you can build out 2 more bedrooms over the garage. They're a fantastically adaptable house, 1970s.
I love them.
One sold, that's the one we were bidding on, actually. It was for 507 last year. And I think the location is super because you're near the town, you're near the seafront, you're near it's perfect.
Okay. So that's definitely sounds like a good spot.
Yeah.
So
Scott's house down the road.
Oh yeah, someone down the road is selling their house. We made an inquiry through a
A
connection.
contact, yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of told us, you know, we're not selling until the end of the year. We've had loads of people inquiring about it, and it's going through an agent.
Fair enough.
So that's fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of hoped, you know, that we could come to some arrangement with each other, but they,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, they
we
want to
arrived
leave it
here
for
and
a while.
we knew them, and they would sort of, we'd say hello to them as we went for a walk every day. So we kind of got to know them that way. And we also were playing tennis in a tennis club up the road, which we joined because of, we were close to it, you know. So we were there for a couple of months, and we'd often see them up, meet them, because it was like kids' tennis courts. So there's kind of this, you know, fellow similar families living in a similar area. And then it's not his brother, his cousin, I think, we know from the school. So I thought, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a cold call, but I don't mind. I'll contact and see how it goes. But yeah, we had high hopes, maybe because of the relationship there, even if it was only a small relationship. But yeah,
Yeah.
bear fruit.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know,
Yeah.
it's prerogative. Now the cousin who I contacted has since been on to me about his uncle selling a house in the future. So, you know, maybe, yeah, he's kind of a local business person here, so
Yeah.
he's good to know. So, you know, it's just another contact anyway. But
Absolutely, it's another contact. But in general, doesn't it make sense? Like, if you were selling a house, wouldn't you be more inclined to just put it on the open market and see what you get? Which is probably exactly what you did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I wouldn't be holding out too much hope for off-market private things, but it's just the concept of putting a note in the door is just simply to flush out things, and you'll deal with any agents, just to know what's coming up.
Yeah.
But you see here, Seacrest, it looks like a good spot for you, doesn't it, in terms of price match and size? So, and obviously if it's a development, it's in the state, there's probably plenty of them, are there? Is it a big enough development? I don't know it.
Yeah, there's about 100 houses really.
Okay.
Or there's probably 110 probably. I see the, oh no, 120. Yeah, they don't come up very often. As you can see, the one last year, and then yeah, I suppose each year there's been, oh no, some of them are Cork and Galway.
Yeah, and they're Cork and Galway.
But yeah, they don't come up that often. So I suppose that's why when we heard the one down the road was coming up, we were like, oh
yeah.
Now it has had a lot of work done to it. So
okay,
they're probably looking to recoup a lot of that. So
well, given that D&G were the last people to sell one there,
yeah.
Another option is when I worked for D&G, if people were really looking for something, I occasionally did a special interest letter out to an estate saying, I actually have a buyer looking in this particular estate, and I called it Seacrest. So Karen or Ed and D&G might actually do a bit of a letter out for you. Now, this is all getting a bit airy-fairy, you know, but so I guess in terms of next steps for you, it's identifying the areas, the actual areas that are going to work. Seacrest looks like one that's going to fit your budget and fit your everything. So that's one. Putland sounds like another. So maybe just try and draw up a list of 5 areas that you feel really will work within Bray.
We were also looking, you know, towards the date where like some of the restrictions will be lifted, and you know, a lot of commentators have mentioned like really more properties, and so we were looking at that date as well. As a lot of people are saying hold on, and even last night on prime time, that was kind of the key message. So we were thinking, you know, it feels like at the moment, particularly in this period, that it's the wrong time to buy, that the prices are inflated. Well, not so much inflated, but that there's not enough demand, there's not enough houses available. So we can wait, and we are in a good position. It just means we're saving a little bit more money, and then May comes along and people feel more comfortable putting their houses on the market, and we benefit from that. I suppose that's another point.
Yeah, we're not expecting the prices to change. Like they may go up,
but there'll
be more options. Yeah, like we don't want to buy the wrong house just because we're desperate.
100%, 100%.
That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I think you're doing everything right. I would just maybe vigorously chase the ones that look of extreme interest to you, and definitely not to act out of fear of just, you know, getting a house, any house, especially if you're happy enough where you are. And you're not in the awful situation of loan approval running out, which is, you don't have that. So you're in a really strong position.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing everything right. Maybe just for the sake of sanity, to if you are feeling a little bit insane or under pressure about this, which can be a pressurizing time, maybe if you were to give yourself some kind of a time frame. Like if I take on a client, I say we're going to be sale agreed within 3 months. So I'm just giving you that time frame, because that is if the client is really exhausted, wants to buy, they're going to buy. That's when I put a time frame of 3 months on it. But you guys aren't striking me as like that. Have you got a time frame in your heads that you really would like to have a deal done by?
I was thinking, well, like the summer is, it was a bit rubbish here during the winter. Like there wasn't a whole lot to do. We're both working from home, and even if we were in a house and we were working on it and we had projects like we did in our own place, we were working on our own place for quite a few years, and we got it to a very high standard and all that. And then we got the benefit because we got a high price, so we felt good about ourselves. And we were just thinking, if we were in a house, we were working on it, life would return a little bit to normal. We don't have a whole lot to focus on at the moment, and we're a little bit lost.
Okay, so you're a bit in suspended animation. So that's the kind of thing that I would put a value on. Yes, you can put a value on the house prices, and they are very high at the moment, but there is also a value in nesting, getting on with it and buying your house, etc. And I wouldn't discount that. I wouldn't just keep focusing on the money, and I don't think you are, but it is an easy one to focus on because it's the only really measurable thing. The agent who sold your house for you? Who did you use? I'm just thinking they might be a good ally.
Sherry Fitz. I call Connor. He's lovely, and he's been keeping an eye out for us. They just haven't had the types of houses, like suit us. But he's really kind, and he does really look after us. We were in another house with him earlier this week. But it just was a bit too small. This back to the bedroom, the two.
What house? Can we just be specific about the house you're in there?
It's not online yet. Sorry, I just remembered.
It's not online. Oh yeah.
It's 21 Rycroft is the name.
Right.
RYECROFT.
Yeah.
And it's in a great location. But so it's coming on at 415, which is very achievable.
Yeah.
It needs a bit of work. Possibly needs a new extension at the back. It needs something knocked. The old one, the sunroom type thing. But it was really the upstairs that I was not sure about, because the little box room was so tiny. It was smaller than in our old place, the box room. So my little fella, he's 7 now, but he he's going to get older, and I just felt a bit too small. But there is an attic that possibly could be converted, so it's something.
So with Rycroft, the location works?
Yeah, the location works. What do you think? Yeah.
Oh, really, really good location. Like, are you both happy with it?
Good location, yeah.
Okay, the size works. I know it's a bit small, but it does work. The money works.
The size.
It just felt small to me. Overall.
Okay, what I have just, I'm thinking, you've been thinking the same thing. It's small, but you've got budget. What's the precedent for doing extensions there? I know you're talking about attic. I don't love attic conversions, and we'll come back to that in a sec, but what could you do at the back or at the side or over a garage?
We did put a couple of questions to Connor, and he was, I think he was mentioning all solid walls, and there'd be a few problems or difficulties with certain building works being done to it.
Could you physically see other houses had done an extension at the back?
It's a good question,
we didn't at the time.
Maybe go back and just have a walk around and just see, because that'll tell you what the precedent is. As I'm sure you know, you are allowed, without any planning permission, do a 40 square meter extension to the house. So that's, if it hasn't already been extended, at least you can do that straight away. But I'd look and see what the level of precedent for extensions is there.
And there is they've done a garage conversion, which gives you the playroom space that we're looking for.
Okay, so
to the other, and I don't know whether we can go out on top of that.
I'd say you could go back and have a look, and definitely, if you've got a side garage, I would definitely go back and see who's done what on the road.
Okay, I'll have a good look at that. That makes a lot of sense. Because as you say, the budget is there to do it. Just how you configure it for our needs, I suppose. And
also, if you wanted to, have you come across houseology.ie? It's she's an architect, Eva Byrne. She did my house actually, and she's a friend. But what I really like about her is that you can buy 2 hours of her time, and it's on her website. I can't remember what she charges, but she will look at a floor plan for you and she will say what the potential is. And she's just very good at using space effectively. So you may not be at the stage of needing her now, but just it's just a way of buying a yard of architect without having to engage, you know, in a whole big relationship with an architect. You can just buy an hour of her time or 2 hours of her time.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
She's come and look at properties with me for clients who have wanted to put in a home office, but they can't obviously see where would I put this home office. And she's just come along and said, you can put it here.
Okay.
And so it's useful.
Actually, that's a consideration for the house too, I suppose, with the working space.
Well, it sounds like Seacrest, Rycroft, Putland. They might be 3 areas to really focus in on in terms of saying it to agents. Yeah,
absolutely. That's really interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. I suppose I can go on to Google Maps and see if I can have a creep and around.
Yeah, and Rycroft, absolutely, yeah. And also just go even look at for sale. Like, let's look now for sale, Rycroft, because these we'll have some other houses that have been for sale, and that'll get us 20 Rycroft. Was that us? No?
Oh, that's next door. 21 is the one we were looking at.
Okay, so something like this. Are they semi-detached?
They are, yeah.
Okay, that's not a good site to be looking at. I'm just looking to see, can we see anything online that looks nice?
Yeah.
15 Rycroft.
It's a difficult one because some of the houses are bigger. There's some 4 beds, I think, and some 3 beds. I think there's even some detached, some semi.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a 1980s development, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it's in a good area, and it's a nice cul-de-sac as well.
Okay, well, I see. I would absolutely be focusing on that.
Okay.
You can do an awful lot with the house. Images for Rycroft. So you're quite tight between the houses. There's not much space, but the house you've been looking at has a garage, does it?
It has a garage conversion, so you might see it on the map if you look.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at the map.
Yeah. So it has this. Yeah, it's kind of sandwiched in between that and the neighbor. They were detached. That was it. It was detached, but then they put the garage conversion in it. That made it semi. And I'm just wondering, can you go over the top and put an extension on the top of that garage? You're tight on space there. If you got another bedroom in it, it would help that problem.
Okay. Okay. So.
Sorry, Breffnie, I feel like you're doing a lot of work here.
I'm delighted to be doing a lot of work. So I'm thinking, where it looks like a very nice estate anyway. So you have got, what one I wonder have you got here? Can you see me?
No.
Oh, sorry, I'm sharing my screen with you. I'm not sharing my screen. Oh, excuse me.
No worries.
So let's see, where have you gone? Oh, here we are. I thought I was sharing my screen, but I'm not. Okay, so here we are, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Is it this kind of house?
Yeah, if you go, that's it, is it that? Oh yeah, if you go further up the road there to the
this way?
Yeah, straight up there. You come to the hedging, you see the hedging at the end of the path. Just look, yeah, a little bit further, and now look left. That's the house there. Oh, just go back a tiny bit. It's back behind the hedge on the left there that you can see. It's really weird. You nearly miss the house. You see it sandwiched in the corner. Yeah, that one.
This one.
To the right of the tree. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You look at it now.
With the hedge, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's behind that hedge. So you get a little front garden on it. And then it's weird because that house, the left, the garage room or the room on the left belongs to that house. Although it's hard to tell
The room, this room
Yeah.
belongs to this house.
Yeah.
I would have expected that to be the case.
Okay.
I'm just looking around to see, has anyone converted over their garage? It's quite tight, isn't it? You know, because it's not like normally when you have a side access when you've got a side garage, you've got a space. But if you were to build up, you'd be building right into your neighbors, wouldn't you?
Would, yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah.
Like maybe the side door there.
Yeah. There's probably not much scope for it then.
But at the back, is there scope at the back?
Like there is for like to do a double
A double height extension at the back.
Yeah, you would, yeah, because there's an extension at the back that's not brilliant. I think you'd have to knock that. If you're able to put a bedroom over the top of that, then happy days.
Well, you know, if you phone the planning department in Bray and you ask them, you say, I'm looking at this house and I'm wondering, firstly, I'd drive there to see has anyone done it. Then I'd phone the planning and just have a preliminary conversation with them and ask them, can they see any problem with getting planning permission for it, for building over the garage? They will usually have a conversation with you. What they say, of course, isn't binding, but nobody else seems to have done it.
No, they're the bigger ones.
Pity. Yeah, that's a pity that there's not much precedent for it.
No.
Okay, but I would really concentrate on that as an area. Because it's the right spot. You can add, you've got the budget to add in more, and I wouldn't rule that out. Like it sounds like you had ruled it out from when we spoke earlier, but I wouldn't be ruling that out.
Okay. Makes sense.
I think you're doing everything right. There's nothing really magic I can say to you other than to turn up the volume on the search in terms of actively, and I'm not saying you're not being proactive, but don't rule things out. If it's a good area, I'd really concentrate on that.
That we're doing the right thing. You know, sometimes you go for a while and you start to doubt whether what you're doing is correct. So it's good confirmation for us that we're
100%, 100%.
Yeah. And I think we were too wide with our search, Breffnie. So I think you've helped us kind of, you know, be a bit realistic about the areas that we need to focus on.
Yeah, I think
that's hugely helpful in itself.
Asking price points of 4 in the late 4s, very early 5s in this market seem to be a reasonable bet, especially if it's a really good location.
Yeah, absolutely. We just found that we kind of were knocking into first-time buyers quite a lot at that entry point, that side of things. So we were like up in the 500s, you know, 550, whatever, around there, because we felt like there was less of that.
Yeah.
And maybe more advantage for us in the position that we're in. And having
but being a cash buyer, you're going to trump a first-time buyer every time, really.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Well, is there anything else? I don't feel like I've honestly been of much help to you. I think you're doing everything right.
You have. No, for us, it's very valuable because, like I said, it's confirmation that we're not treading water here.
No. So if there are any takeaways, I wouldn't rule out properties that are in your budget, in your good location, just on the basis of a small bedroom. I definitely wouldn't be doing that. And in terms of attic conversion versus extending at the back, my experience is that attic conversions often, and I'm sure it's yours too, cannibalize a room to give you inferior space. So you lose a good room on the first floor and get inferior space on the third floor. And it just, I think if you can at all avoid them, I would be avoiding them and go out the back instead. So I'd say, don't rule out those properties if you can do an extension and they max the budget and they meet the budget. And I'd get onto the sale agreed one in Putland and follow that up.
Yeah, okay. No, that's great, Breffnie, thanks. And because I know I heard recently about a couple of people who bought off market, and I was trying to understand how to maybe do that. So I know you've mentioned the letter, and that's something that I'll definitely do. I'll give it a last shot. Like, as you say, if nothing else, it might be just somebody knows and says it to someone else. And
exactly. And it just might be someone who's thinking about it. Doesn't mean necessarily you do any kind of a special deal. It just means that you're doing something for starters. And
I know. I feel like I have to do something, Breffnie.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I totally understand. And the other thing I'd say is don't be afraid to bid without having physically walked through it.
Yeah.
You can
yeah.
always walk away from it, but you may as well use the power that you've got now, which is to bid, to go sale agreed, and then to walk away if you want.
Okay. Yeah.
They can't make you buy it. They can't make you sign a contract. They can't take the money out of your pocket, but go with whatever is going on at the moment. Don't wait.
Yeah.
And then would you be concerned at all? It happened to us before. Obviously, there was a valid reason. The survey wasn't good on the house, and that's why we decided to not proceed with the purchase of the house that we were sale agreed on. We're kind of because it's a small town and there's a limited number of agents.
Yeah.
From an agent perspective, you know, is it expected that like this happens and sometimes people do walk away that, you know, they're not going to proceed with it for whatever reason?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 sales fall through at the moment. And and that's 1 in 4 on a normal basis, in a normal functioning market fall through.
Okay.
And now I think it's higher. I mean, they're falling through, but then they're re-agreeing after pretty quickly. But they are falling through because it's like you say, people are going sale agreed in it without ever having physically set foot in it. That's a bit nuts.
Yeah.
And one thing I'd say, when you do go to physically set foot in the house, just pay particular attention to looking at the windows, because it can happen that you get so entranced by looking at the house itself, you don't look out the windows, and then you buy the house and you realize, oh my God, I didn't really notice that's out the window. So really look out the windows when you're in there.
It's a good tip.
I had a client who was sale agreed on a house, and she was sale agreed in the winter. And when she went back during the daytime, it was at an evening viewing, she found there were pigeons lofts next door. Now, as it turned out, she didn't particularly mind. She was happy. They were well-kept pigeon lofts, but, you know, she hadn't noticed it. It's easy not to notice those things in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's something that we'll do when we can get in and actually do again.
Okay. Well, listen, I wish you the very best of luck. I think you've done everything right, and it's just a lack of supply out there. So you're obviously highly efficient, organized people, and you want to get things done, but there's not much to be done now other than follow the obvious leads and don't rule out things just for a small bedroom if the area is good.
Yeah. Oh, it's been hugely helpful, Breffnie. Thanks a million.
Okay, well, listen, you're very welcome. Good to talk to you, and best of luck.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Take care.